you playing?
Hello, and welcome to What the Bleep Are You Playing? A podcast where we play a game, many times bad, and tell you why the bleep we played it. I am packaged with Sean. This is A. Thomas V. And now with online play, Mason. And we played... ATV Offroad Fury 2 for the PlayStation 2.
I would make the worst console. I'd be the worst console anyone could. I would be like the what I'd be like the
So you're going to be the new 7-Eleven Tetris?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like
slushy console?
What was the console in like the early 80s that like nobody wanted?
Most of them.
That would be me. I'm the Intellivision of
the Odyssey.
Yes, I'm the Odyssey 2.
So you might be wondering what we're doing with the 6th goddamn racing game this season.
Is it really 6?
It is. We've done so many racing games.
You guys are welcome.
Partly Mason, but we've all contributed in some capacity to this.
That's right, because Split Second was this season, right?
I did Split Second and Muppets Race Mania.
And Muppets Race
Mania.
Mania.
If we're counting Big Bumpin', Sean contributed, and that's 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so,
it's not just me.
Yes, but also most of yours are racing games this season.
We bumped up a bit with scheduling stuff, and we weren't really sure how many episodes we were going to get out, so we decided what would be easy to play and quick to play. And so we did a lot of racing games this season. There's the peek behind the curtain of why we did racing games this season.
And also just because I love racing games.
Yeah. For the bit, Mason is defaultly in a car, and that car might be Lightning McQueen at all times.
Yeah.
Anyway, ATV Offroad Fury 2. As you can tell from the intro, this was a game that was actually packaged with a couple PS2 consoles, specifically PS2 consoles that came with that online adapter.
That was the big thing because obviously Xbox had come out with online play and blown the world away and like, oh my gosh, we can play video games online, and PlayStation had to respond. Nintendo was like, online?
What does that mean?
No, the kids don't like that. We're going to continue doing what we're doing. But PlayStation did respond with their own online capabilities. But the PS2, there was like a little box that went on the back of it that you could plug in your link cable or your internet cable. The PlayStation package, which I got, which came with ATV Offroad Fury 2, it came with a disc as well that was all about setting up your online. I don't think I ever did, but set up all your online, and then you had a pamphlet of get Final Fantasy 11. Everyone loves it. What do you mean no one? What? It's gone.
Poof. Like an angel's kiss.
But that was something that was really interesting because PlayStation didn't really figure out online until midway through the 3, really.
Yeah.
Even then, it might even be till the 4 that they finally figured it out. Like the 3 had a lot of like library online stuff, things that you could download, classic games, buy for cheap, things like that. Things that like the Wii U and the 3DS would absolutely have amazing features of later on.
Yeah, but when it came to like playing games through online, it wasn't.
You bought an Xbox.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that you bought
an Xbox.
Yes, exactly.
But this was big because this was a franchise, ATV Offroad Fury.
Furry?
That's a different game.
Very different game.
We got like no, the Yiff-mobile. ATV Offroad Fury was a series. It was popular, but then they decided to transfer it over. They packaged it with that online play because that's where they figured it would go.
And packaging it with the PlayStation with that was a good idea. A lot of people played it. This was a very popular game, well-reviewed game. This is a good game. We're probably going to tangent a bunch because it's us, but this was a pretty fun.
There's also really not much to this game.
There's not a lot to this game. It is very much. There's no story. There's no epic journey of your rider.
Mm-hmm.
You're just kind of a guy on an ATV or a gal
Mhm.
Yeah. You know,
Even if Mason did not realize the difference between men and women, Mason actually set the precedent back. Young Mason was like, "There's no gender. Gender doesn't exist."
Wow, you're really progressive or dumb.
It was just dumb. I just saw the two different writers that you could pick, and I was like, oh, big writer, small writer.
You're either
tits. I don't know.
I couldn't see them.
You're really progressive, or you just don't see women, so you're actually really.
Oh no.
So this is actually. Sorry, we were playing this, and I said this was the second game we played from Rainbow Studios, the studio that made it. It's actually the third game we've played from Rainbow Studios.
Oh, really?
Second game this season with Mason, but I picked a game last season from Rainbow Studios. What? Star Wars Racer's Revenge.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Right.
So this is our third Rainbow Studios game. And again, they made racing games. We've talked about it before. They made racing games. They have a few other here and there, like they made a Tiger Woods game in 2000. They really didn't start getting into the racing game until they really worked with Motocross Madness in '98. Motocross Madness 1 and 2 for the Windows.
Mm-hmm.
But their real breakthrough was ATV Offroad Fury on the PlayStation 2 in 2001, and then its follow-up, ATV Offroad Fury 2 in 2002. They actually they had a big year in 2002. ATV Offroad Fury 2, Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX 2, which I played that game, or at least rented it at one point, and then Star Wars Racer's Revenge. So
wow,
2002 was a big year. Then they would just continue making ATV games, MX versus ATV games from then until
sun burns out of the sky.
And that with an occasional sprinklings of Cars games in the middle. But in a lot of ways, this game, it controls very similar to Cars.
I'd say it controls better.
I think it does, actually.
Well, it's very different because you just said it's similar, and I'm saying it's very different. Yeah, call me.
Similar controls, different style, so it makes it a different experience.
Similar ways you press the buttons, different way it handles.
Yes,
because it's very different handling. I guess I should say.
It was a little bit of a learning curve to get a hang of because I wasn't expecting them to turn so tight, those ATVs, and you can turn on a dime, I guess, on those.
Yeah, I mean that's how ATVs are. Take it from someone who rode an ATV when he was like 8 and nearly crashed.
I tried to ride some ATVs when I was when my grandpa got like a 4-wheeler, and it was more of a farm 4-wheeler than like something nice like this. But we like would play it and I was like, "Ooh, look how cool I am!" And then I'd stopped riding it and.
Yeah, no, I felt like the coolest motherfucker on mine.
It's true.
Totally not acknowledging that my dad was actually the one driving.
I mean, in fairness, games like this, you'd play anytime I'd get on a riding lawnmower. This is that type of feeling. You're like, oh yeah, it's like this. You're like that cool. So I get the feeling of like the coolness of an ATV. So like, just saying right now that I can see why this game is popular simply because ATVs are cool.
Yeah, that's fair.
They are cool, and it's fun to ride them in this game. It feels like you're in an ATV.
It does. They really nailed the feeling of...
You really feel like an ATV motor.
Coming to Pixar this fall.
No, it's a very fun game. There's not a lot to it. There are a couple different modes. There's... I'll be honest, I played a lot of MX versus ATV as a kid. I played MX versus ATV on Untamed with my brother. We did not actually play the game. We went into freestyle mode and messed around because we thought the ragdolls were fun.
I had Untamed too. We had it for the
ragdoll physics, and there is some in this, but it would continue on as they continue doing more and more of these style of games. Yeah, it's fun. Ragdoll physics is always fun,
especially when
ragdolls are good.
Especially when with what they do in this game when you hit an out of bounds area in the open world, where they just fling you across the rest of the map. They're like, you've gone too far. Boom, you're gone.
Yeah, I think that's just a common thing they do. And I'm willing to bet they just thought it was funny.
Probably.
It is so funny.
Imagine you are in an epic online game, and you are running out of time, and you accidentally do that, and the last bit of time is just watching yourself while someone else is winning.
See, I'm just imagining being the racers, and all of a sudden someone goes out of bounds, and you just hear them like,
Yeah.
And they're like, what the hell is that?
But
it's that scene in Robots. It's like, Super Me Kid, I know this place like the back of my hand. Hey, that's new. Boom.
I think the racing's probably the drawing point of this game. Like that's probably what you come for. Like that's what they were hoping for. But I think why people remember this game and played it is probably more of the party stuff, the trick modes,
Yeah.
Yes.
things like especially the trick modes because it's Tony Hawk. It's Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
It's Tony Hawk logic, except, I'm better at this because in real life, me and skateboards get along not good.
Yeah, it's in which any extreme sports type of like game would have like a Tony Hawk type of mode in it at this point. Snowboarding, skateboarding, BMX, scooters,
the
ATVs.
Because the SSX series would have been going on at this point too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was the Dave Mirra BMX series that Sean brought up, or whatever BMX series he brought up. The extreme sports games are all over the place because Tony Hawk made it a thing. Watch our episode on World Tour, anyway.
Oh, exactly, where we definitely talk about Tony Hawk in a not Tony Hawk game, in an anime game that is trying to be Tony Hawk. World Tour was a really weird game.
World Tour was weird as hell, brother.
It is, but it's also. Can you imagine if this game had a story mode to go with any of this? It's like randomly, like, yep, anime-ass villains popping in. Go ride your ATV.
That would be
the aliens from War of the Worlds drop down, and it's just like the only way you can stop them is by riding ATVs. I feel like we're missing a couple steps.
Where does the ATV come in to play at all?
Well, if you get enough tricks, the alien dies.
Ah, there you go.
You have to meet a certain point quota, and the aliens just spontaneously combust.
There you go.
Weirdly, I would play this game. This fictional game that we've created here, mixing World Tour and ATV Offroad Fury.
Okay.
So going back to this game and the other modes in it, we are 0 for 2 with good vehicle-based games with hockey modes in them. We are 0 for 2.
Hockey sucks.
Does any
does
any car-based hockey game, good car-based hockey game exist? It does. It's called Rocket League. It's called that one mode in Rocket League. That one is good. But other than that, are there any?
I think partly the controls of the ATV aren't conducive for hockey. Also, it's 1v1. Honestly, like if you wanted to do something where it was more like foosball oriented, where you were stuck in a lane with like things with that, you could have maybe done something with it instead of hockey. But
I think that would have made it worse.
It might have, but having more ATVs is kind of what I'm thinking.
Okay, yeah.
But also,
well, there were
you can't have any more. The ice will break.
It's
there were other. You could like have more than one person, but you had to have like actual people. Yeah. You couldn't do like you couldn't have bots. No.
Yeah, it weren't good.
No, hockey sucked dick, but the rest of the modes were honestly pretty solid.
Yeah, yes. Tag is really fun.
Tag is really fun.
I'm bad at it because I'm bad at racing games. Surprise, surprise. But
Tag is probably
was really fun. Like
Tag is the most fun I got out of this game.
Because weirdly, this beach ball weighs you down, and you suddenly go half speed. It feels like when you
ATV motorist just tears the beach ball. There's a 16-ton anvil in there. What the hell?
When does grand piano get here?
Where did you get that piano?
But there's also, one-on-one races. You can race with a bunch of computers. There's trick modes where you get a bunch of points, where Mason somehow beat me by getting 300 plus points. He was down 300 plus points, and it's like 1 second, 0.5 seconds, 0. I've won. What do you mean he just landed a trick at 0? What do you mean? What do you mean?
I was wondering how long it was going to take for you to bring that.
The amount of salt coming off Sean.
Look, I'm bad at racing games. I'm bad at extreme sports games like Tony Hawk, and I was about to win it. It was going to be my crowning achievement in life, and you ruined it.
Victory was snatched away.
I was about to be king of the world.
Just imagine if Sean won that runs out. It's like, guys, I won a game of ATV Offroad Fury. Get off the street!
You, sir, guess what? It's a lucky day. I won ATV Offroad Fury points with
Go
tricks.
into the town square and buy the biggest turkey you can. I won ATV.
I have no money, so you're gonna have to use your own. But
I'll cash app you later.
but really, I won't. But don't worry about it.
Unless of course I can't find you, or if I forget.
But yeah, this game is fun. I think it harkens back, and we've talked about a lot in a lot of games we've played. Games that harken back to sitting on the couch with friends and just playing silly games. And that's kind of what this feels like. But it also did have the online mode. So you could do this with your friends across the globe if the PlayStation Online worked at that time.
Yeah.
And believe me, the PlayStation 2 Online was
spotty at best.
Oh no,
best.
Someone sneezed in Korea. I mean, it's bad.
So I think but the ability to be able to sit down and play, maybe you have your 2 liters of soda, a box of pizza, and you're just hanging out with your friends. And this was a game that you probably would have played in the early 2000s, especially. Like this feels like that sort of game. Maybe your friend didn't bring the Xbox and you only got the PlayStation 2, so you weren't playing Halo tonight, or maybe you didn't have the GameCube to play Smash Bros. And you're like, well, we got the PS2. Let's break out some ATV Offroad Fury too.
Man,
it came with it.
You really just made my childhood sound very sad. There's a lot of me playing this game with by myself.
I mean, in fairness, I'm pretty sure I know my brother and I probably raced when we had it, but it feels like that sort of game.
Very, very occasionally, I could drag my dad into playing different PlayStation games with me, but that was again very occasionally.
My dad watched me play a lot.
Huh.
I mean, me and my brother played versus ATV, like I said, but this was my first time playing ATV Offroad Fury.
Yeah, you played a lot of Rainbow Studios' later ATV games.
Yeah.
This is really fun. This doesn't really have anything to do with this game specifically, but bringing up playing these games on the PlayStation just unlocked a core memory for me. I remember there were so many times where I'd be in the middle of playing a game. It might have been Offroad Fury 2. It might have been PlayStation. It might have been Ben 10 Protector of Earth. It might have been something like that. It might have been Cars even. I'd be in the middle of playing it, and either my mom or my dad would say, "Okay, it's time to eat dinner." So I would pause it and go to eat dinner, thinking that they would leave the TV alone and I could come back to playing it. But then every time they would get the remote and change it to something else in the middle of eating, and I'd be sitting there at the table like, "What the hell, guys?" And again,
poor Mason,
stupid child.
Poor Mason.
But yeah,
I think as eras would change, kind of this is kind of that line in the sand of eras changing of video games. This was, the introduction to online onto this franchise, so it was no longer a sit down with your friends or link cable up and do. I think you could probably do multiple PlayStation 2s,
like LAN play.
Yeah, multiple PlayStation 2s hooked up together, because both PlayStations and Xboxes could do that. Especially Xboxes. That was original Xboxes. I remember we would have parties where you would hook up and you could have, I think, if you're playing Halo, you could have up to 8 people with 2 Xboxes hooked up and 2 different TVs. So
how big was the room?
I mean, you just have a TV set up, a big TV set up, and a TV set up on the other side, and everyone's sitting like, come on, Mason. We all hang out.
It's a lot of space you'd need to do that.
No, you don't. Bros being bros.
How big were the TVs?
Bros being bros.
It was 2002. They can't be massive.
Bros being bros, Mason. Why don't you like the bros being bros?
I like the bros. I know no problem with the bros being the bros. I just want to know how this works logistically.
I was going to bring up something, but it would make no sense to anyone listening. So
I like the bros.
I like it when the bros being bros. I just want to know how it works.
Fair enough. But this game was fun. I think we said the controls were pretty good. They're tight. They feel good. Yes. None of us could pull off reverse particularly well.
But
reverse sucks dick.
The way they do it is stupid.
Like, reverse sucks dick. In every other kind of game, it's hold brake or double tap brake or something like that. In this, it's hold brake and gas. What the fuck is that? It's how an ATV works. Okay, for a video game, that ain't great.
No.
That's the only control thing where I'm like, yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, but
I also don't know if that's how an ATV works.
But also, it was easy. Tricks are fairly easy to pull off. They're
Yeah.
it is fun to pull off tricks. You don't have a huge arsenal of tricks, but you do have a fair amount of different ones.
There
And apparently you can land them in the middle of a river, so that's a thing.
there is. I
Now-
was
now
still
it's-
alive.
Now it's moved to all of Europe. Salt.
I was still alive when I landed in the lake. It counted. I landed on all 4 of my wheels. I was still alive.
Oh look, I'm 20 feet below sea level, but good thing that trick counted.
It did count. I was able to drive out of it. I don't know how, but I did.
Your ATV is fucked after.
Yeah,
you know that.
I mean, Thomas's mortal enemy was cacti.
That did happen.
No, my mortal enemy was that one trailer that by all rights should have decapitated me. I was going there like 50 miles per hour, just bangs his head, and I'm like, your head's gone.
You just, yeah.
You are officially one head shorter.
So yeah, we had a lot of fun playing. We goofed. We were.
This was not a game we took very seriously, but it's us. We don't take most games we play that
There was,
seriously.
speaking of not taking it seriously, there was one point so the way tag works, I guess we should explain, is that instead of like trying not to be tagged by the person like who's it, you want to be it, if that makes any sense. Like there's a ball that like drops in the middle and you want to hold on to the ball for as long as possible, and hitting the other person moves
It's
the ball.
kind of more king of the hill, I guess.
Something like that,
keep
or like
away.
keep away, yeah. And there was one point I had the ball and Sean was chasing me, and at one point I just started driving in circles to like try to throw him off. And at one point Sean just stopped completely, and I almost hit him and lost the ball by doing that.
It was I was
There was a lot of Looney Tunes-esque things happening,
and just a
in
lot of
that
frustration on my part, but par for the course.
Yeah,
I
should
The
have.
game involves gears and wheels. Sean will get frustrated at some point.
If I was thinking, I would have been like, okay, I want to see Sean and Thomas try to play tag against each other.
How'd you both get 0?
None of us
How
ever
did neither
got
of you touch the ball at all?
Well, you see, there was a grand piano in the beach ball, and
See, I'm just imagining it completely off tangent. Did you guys ever watch XFL?
Oh, the WWE football thing.
Yeah, that failed after one season.
Yeah, and then got brought back by The Rock. Yeah. I know.
The first, because in regular football, it's like you flip a coin and whoever calls it gets the ball.
Uh-huh.
In XFL, you have to do a 50-yard run to it, and whoever gets there first, they have a bit of a tussle.
Okay.
First game of the first season, one of the star running backs did that. Broke his collarbone, couldn't play for the rest of the season. Nice job, dumbass. And I imagine that's what me and Sean would have done.
and they're dead.
And there's Funky. He's dead.
We haven't talked about here one aspect of the game because early 2000s game, that licensed soundtrack.
Oh boy.
Look, I love it, but it's also the epitome of, oh yeah, you want the early 2000s dissected and put in a soundtrack. It's about that.
Yeah.
It was a fun, good soundtrack. Like legitimately, every track, like, oh, that's cool. Except when it randomly would stop.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. But yeah, like
which happened in games all the time, especially sports games all the time. It's so weird. You'd be like, where'd the music go?
The music go?
It's always weird. Like,
it's Cypress Hill, Korn, Alien Ant Farm, all stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. It was
my jam.
It was a good.
Back in Black was one of them.
I think so. I think so. Yeah, it had a good soundtrack. It was fun. We enjoyed it. We've had a couple fun licensed soundtrack games this season. With WWE, with those sort of things that have had.
Was Flat Out 2 this season or last?
Flat Out Season 2 was last. Season 1.
Was season
2 seasons ago. But
we've been doing this a while now.
We've had fun with some of the licensed soundtracks.
Cars.
Mm-hmm.
Cars did have a licensed soundtrack. Yeah.
That's right. It did have some of those. So, which again, when you play racing games or sports games in general, so you're going to get those licensed soundtracks. This one was fun.
NASCAR 07.
NASCAR 07 had one. That's true.
Opening with Diary of Jane.
Yeah. Definitely.
And obviously, the best licensed soundtrack we had, Larry Boy and Bad Apple on the GBA.
I mean, no, sorry, the best soundtrack ever. Sorry, we need to go back and do our best soundtrack
I
episode.
apologize. And all three of us just have Larry Boy and the Bad Apple on GBA as number one.
But I
All
think
right, guys, we have to limit ourselves to one track from Larry Boy GBA. Damn it!
All of them. That counts as one, right? I'll just link the YouTube video that's just all the songs.
Jeez.
that was such a good. That was a fun episode. But I think if I have a nitpick for this game, something that I've said a bunch, but I think some of the UI isn't as intuitive as it should be. But again, especially even in like some of the sports,
Yeah.
like some of it is just the menus are just feel at time a little cluttered.
That I can.
At least some of it, like again, they're fine. I'm not saying like, oh my gosh, they're bad. They break the game or they make it bad or anything. I just felt like they were a little cluttered, but also kind of par for the course. So like, I would nitpick a lot of these sort of.
The only menu thing that kind of irritated me is when you go to shift your gears, and instead of being able to just press start from there, you would have to go back and then press start.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that was pretty common for this era, so I'm not going to hold it against it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like
No,
PlayStation.
it's still common nowadays. So
There's some PlayStation stuff that just felt a little on the menu, but again, par for the course. So almost any 2000s game of this ilk, I would probably be nitpicking the same thing.
Mhm.
But overall, like if we're not playing hockey, this game rocks.
Yeah.
This
Imagine
game-
if that was the.
4 out of 5 modes ain't bad.
Imagine if that was like the first game mode I had you guys play.
And we
Could have dropped it.
didn't play enough to really unlock. There are other modes that you can unlock as well.
There
so
are.
King of the Hill and Treasure Hunt.
So like
Yeah.
this game has replayability. This game is legitimately very, very full of
Content
things
stuff.
to do. Like it just is a lot of it. It was well reviewed. 82 on Metacritic. 9s out of 10s for Game Informer. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, saying the gameplay is amazing, but the soundtrack sucks. So,
Oh, come on.
so once
Bastards.
again,
Come
IGN
on.
is the worst. It also received a nomination for Console Racing Game of the Year, but it lost to Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. Makes sense. This game was praised then, and we'll get to it more when we get to the question. But I think like I really enjoyed sitting down and going like, oh yeah, this kind of takes you back to that time of games, and I think that's the best compliment you can give a game kind of like this that was meant to sit down and play with friends and just have a good time. That if you can sit down and even if you're playing for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or 2-3 hours, you're probably going to have a good time and fun with friends.
Yeah.
On this podcast, we ask 2 important questions of every game that we play. The first is, how does it hold up?
Perfectly 2002.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Really well.
That's the best way to describe it. This is like, you legitimately, when you boot it up, it transports you to 2002. And it is you are feeling exactly like you would when playing a game in 2002.
And honestly,
Mason turns on the game, just vanishes.
Mason's like, oh no.
it's that meme of the guy with the peace out and honestly, like change up the menus like a little bit, update the soundtrack a couple of years. It could pass for like a
Never.
360 game. It could pass for a 360 game, I think.
Yeah. I mean, because honestly, again, it's very simplistic graphics because they didn't have to do a ton. They didn't do a ton with the environments. They didn't do a ton with the riders. It's all in gear. The graphic. There's nothing graphically that was like, oh my gosh, that looks super dated. Like that's because again of not trying to do too much with it. There really weren't much shots of crowds, so you weren't worried about like the really bad EA crowd looks at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the people are just they're just people in gear. So like it looks great. Like I was thoroughly impressed with the visuals for a PlayStation 2002 sequel PlayStation game that ended up being a game that got packaged a lot with the PlayStation 2. Like that, you wouldn't expect to be like, oh yeah, that graphically looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I think obviously Rainbow Studios found their niche and just stuck with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, holds up well. The second question we asked of every game that we play: would you like to see a remake or reimagining of this game in a modern setting.
So here's the
And
big problem with that.
Drop it for $5 on eShop or whatever. But
Here's
I'm kind of surprised it's not a part of the PlayStation Store.
here's the
kind
thing.
of, but
Like, just because it was such a... Sorry, I keep interrupting you, Mason,
it's
but
fine. Go ahead.
it was such a big part of the online and the packaging that it feels like they have all probably Sony produced it themselves. It feels like something just like they could throw at any point on the...
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say I think I know what Mason's gonna say.
You probably do.
So-
See, here's the issue here with this question is that if the ATV series on its own was the only series of its kind, I would probably say, maybe not like a complete remake, but like a remaster, like a remaster thrown on the PlayStation Store. That'd be all right. Only problem is the MX versus ATV series exists, which is basically this, but also with BMXs and monster trucks and trophy trucks and sand rails and basically every off-road vehicle in between. So it's like, why would you necessarily want to go back to this? I mean, I go back to this one specifically because I played it as a kid.
Yeah, the nostalgia.
But I can't imagine anybody who hasn't played this game before wanting to play it again.
For history, maybe. But
I guess
That's fair.
So if you wanted to throw, I think there's like 4 games in the Offroad Fury in the ATV series. I think there's 4 is what I saw. If you want to put all 4 in a collection and throw them on the
I think 2 by Rainbow Studios and 2 by different studios, I believe.
Okay.
I
don't know who if there's some like licensing issue with that, but if you wanted to do that, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, because after Offroad Fury, they started doing BMX. They did MX Unleashed, MX versus ATV Unleashed, and then they're just into the MX versus ATVs.
Mm-hmm.
I think, just to counter a little bit of Mason's, why would it, I still think like going back and not needing all those extra things and sitting down and playing it, there is value to sitting down and playing this game. And I think on a PlayStation Store, again, I'm not clamoring for a top-down, ground-up, new graphic remake or even a remaster. I don't need an HD remaster, but dropping this game on like the PlayStation Store, with your PlayStation Online, with your thing you get there, all those, one of those that's just like, oh yeah, it's with the system, you can play it. I would probably sit down and play this at least once or twice a year, probably, if it was on there, honestly. And watch, we're gonna go looking like, hey, idiot, it is on there, or something dumb like that.
Nice job, dipshit.
But I think sitting down and playing it now, I'm like, yeah, this is a game that you could easily just sit down and play for, 15, 20 minutes, or if you have friends, because it has a lot of local play, it could have value now, I think. And I understand that, like we said with the Forza game, there are more in the franchise. Why would you go back? Well, I think it's sometimes fun to go back. I think it's fun to play the older games. I think it's fun to play the different ones in the thing. Like,
fair.
I go back and I'll play different Maddens, at different eras. And I know that's a little bit different because roster stuff and things like that can change. People leave the whatever profession, NFL or baseball or whatever you're playing at the time. So I do understand why you maybe are doing a snapshot at that. But like, I think there's a lot of value to this. And I don't want to remake. I really don't need a remaster. But I would love this game. And honestly, if you want to throw Offroad Fury 1 as well on it, that would be cool too. I would sit down and play it. I think they're fun games. I think it's a fun little franchise that I think deserves maybe the ability of a bigger audience to sit down and play it. Than just digging up PlayStation 2 and sitting down and being like, kids, this is what I played in 2002. Sit down and play it and enjoy it. You don't get your Fortnites today.
I guess that's fair. And I did just look at
Granddad, I'm 26.
Shut up!
I did just look it up. There are 4, and they do all have the same publisher. So I guess if they wanted to, they could bundle them.
Same publisher, different developers?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Because again, Sony was the main publisher, but also Sony Computer Entertainment and THQ were the publishers for 2. So.
Yeah, the other 2 were developed by. Give me a sec. Climax Racing. So. They may have to work out some sort of deal between all 3 of them to throw a full collection on there. But if they did, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Actually, that would even be something more than just the store. If they wanted to do all 4 of them on it doesn't even have to remaster, but on a hard disc that you could play all 4 of them and have a physical copy, I'd do that. Hey, limited run games, I'd do that.
There you go.
Like,
Yeah.
that actually would be kind of fun. Like, again, I'm not saying that these games are like something that you have to play or that you're dying if you're not, but I think there's value to them.
I agree. I definitely agree.
So, but yeah, what do you guys think? Do you have memories of playing ATV Offroad Fury 2? I think I finally really nailed the name after struggling way too much this episode saying it. But what do you guys think? Did you get the PlayStation package? You know, do you have any memories of it? Let us know. Drop us an email, bleepyouplaying@gmail.com. That's bleepyouplaying@gmail.com. Maybe you want us to play a game like this. Well, over on our Patreon, patreon.com/whatthebleep, you can do that. $15 a month, our super bleep head tier, and boom, we'll play it. Boys, you ready to think green and go to war?
Oh.
Next
no.
time.
Kill the Tans, baby.
Burn it.